Here are the executions for the trade right here. You'll notice that we bought right there, and we got stopped out to a tick. So a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Alrighty guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another trade recap video. Today, unfortunately, we took an L. We have broken the win streak today, unfortunately, but you know, it is what it is, and that's just the reality of trading. Sometimes you're going to have a lot of win streaks, and you know, it's going to end at some point. So you just have to be disciplined enough to not let that one loss turn into, you know, multiple losing streaks, you know, which happens a lot to a lot of people. But that's besides the point. Let's just get into the recap, and I'll explain exactly what happened, what I did, what I was thinking, and pretty much just everything about the trade. There was one thing that was going against me in this specific scenario, which is why it kind of led to kind of weird price action, but we're going to get into that right now. So I'm in replay mode, just coming into the day, pretty much just going to give you a rough idea of exactly what happened here. So coming into the day, as you can see right here, this is the 9:30 opening price here. So on the 1 minute time frame, you'll notice that everything pretty much is telling us that we want to draw lower. So as you can see here on the 15 minute, you can see that this high here that was put in at 9 a.m. is still respecting this 30-minute time frame, or sorry, 30-minute fair value gap. If we go to the 30-minute time frame, you'll notice that this 30-minute fair value gap got displaced through in the morning right here, but ES never displaced through that gap. So this is kind of like a false kind of break through this fair value gap, false inversion, because you notice too, the London highs and the Asia highs are already taken. And as well, if you go on a 1 hour too, you'll notice that this high here at, where is it? At 11 a.m. So this 11 a.m. high right here on ES is way up here. Hasn't even been touched, right? And if you look here on NQ, this 11 a.m. high was actually taken, right? It's relative equal highs, but it was taken by, it's not equal highs, it was actually taken by one tick. So that was taken, right? The only thing holding us down at this point to not take that high anymore, or even this high, is this 30-minute gap here. So if we scale back down, oh my goodness, if we scale back down to a 1 minute time frame, we get the opening price here, 9:30 opens, and then we immediately on ES trade higher, manipulating these highs here. So we have an SMT with these highs here on ES. Boom, that trades us lower down to this low. So pretty much seeing this right before open, I mean, you could just short that, but obviously that's just not the way I trade. And you know, following the draw on liquidity is one thing, but actually having a setup that's consistent and works over time through data, and you know that, you know, that's a completely different thing. So we pretty much run that low, and now my focus pretty much for that time, for the time being, obviously since we're bullish on the higher time frame and everything that I'm seeing coming up until today, I really wanted to see this new day opening gap. So if we go back down to the 1 minute, the new day opening gap is down here. I know it's pretty cluttered, my bad for this mess, but basically the 524 level is what I wanted to see. That was the 6 p.m. open of the new day. So I wanted to see exactly like how we'd react off these levels. So if we play price, right, we trade back up into this 1 minute, right? Keep in mind I still want this lower area as my draw on liquidity, right? At around, I think it was 9:37, I believe we created equal highs here with NQ, and yeah, these were the equal highs. Yep. So we created equal highs, and at this point I saw those, and I was like, okay, maybe we could get a setup to the equal highs before coming down to the new day opening gap. So kind of just mess around for a bit, right? NQ comes down to this low here, these equal lows, right? We trade below them, immediately reject, right? We have this mitigation here on ES as well, so we trade into that. You can notice here on the 5 minute as well, we're still respecting this area here, right? This whole mitigation leg, we're still respecting, and we're still inside this gap here as well. Let's go back down to the 1 minute. I see this 1 minute gap here. Want to see how we treat that, potentially, you know, inverse that to go to the equal highs, and that's what I was looking at here. So we kind of chop around at it, don't really do anything with it for the time being, and now we're looking to see how we're trading below this low, because if you look, we've already traded below this low a little bit after open, like literally a candle after open, right? 9:31 we traded below this low, the low's still open on it on ES, right? So this low hasn't been taken yet, but this low here hasn't even been taken yet either, right? So we're still hovering inside this mitigation on ES. We're still waiting for more confirmation, more structure to tell us kind of where exactly we want to go, whether we want to go to these equal highs to catch a small, counter trend trade to the equal highs, or just waiting till price tells us it wants to go to the new day opening gap. So at this point, I'm still waiting. We're about 20 minutes into the open now. So just waiting, right? We trade back down into this other, I think this is a new day opening gap. We trade into this one, very small, right? We trade all the way back down. So this low here that traded down into this gap is at 950. So basically at the start of the macro, right? We do have SMTs at the low, right? But notice how ES is already like accumulating at this low, and we've already displaced through it, and order flow is extremely bearish right now. At that point, you can expect any bullish SMT to just fail. So at this point, I haven't taken anything yet. I'm still just watching price, right? Trading below, trading lower, trading lower, trading lower. Still really nothing yet. Not interested in much. At this point, I'm still watching. So now, right, we hit previous day equilibrium, right? We have an SMT at the low here. I'm just watching to see if this is really going to actually turn bullish now, or if we're going to, kind of hover around this area, maybe take a high here, see if maybe we want to trade up into these levels. I'm literally just watching. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to then react off of, right? So we keep on doing our thing. Right, this low here at 957 was taken on ES, but not on NQ, so we have a nice SMT divergence there. Bullish SMT. Now at this point, I was watching to see how we'd react with this gap right here. So we trade through that gap, right? I wanted to see how we'd come back to it and see the reaction we'd get off of it. So boom, we tap into it, and we leave behind a 1 minute fair value gap, right? So I want to see, obviously this level is not always just going to get respected to a tick. In this specific scenario, right, we had this entire range here from this low to this high. We wanted to rebalance to the equilibrium here, obviously on a higher time frame. It's just really a wick. There's not much. I don't think there's any fair value gaps or anything. Yeah, no fair value gaps. So usually you'll notice if there's like a nice run up and that leaves a couple fair value gaps, usually the first one it taps, it'll run higher and just keep going, especially if there's like a breaker or some sort of PD array holding it up higher. But if price is just kind of chopping here and isn't really doing too much, no fair value gaps and just kind of like order blocks and mitigations, expect some sort of run lower, especially if there's like some prominent liquidity here, right? Because a lot of people get FOMO in this scenario. But for me in specific, I wanted these equal highs, but at the same time I wanted the new week opening gap. So after seeing this run higher, failing to take this, and then getting an immediate run lower back to equilibrium of the range, right, with all these other high time frame confluences in line, I liked this 1 minute inversion to run to these equal highs to then potentially, seek the new week opening gap later on. But if this trade were to work, obviously then I would be done for the day. Wouldn't want to put on more risk even if it was A plus. I just don't see a point. Sure, it's more money, but I want to stick to my rules and just follow my trading plan, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you a profitable trader. So right here, we create the 1 minute gap right here, right? We have this other 1 minute inversion that we're looking to see as well, right? We respect it. We get a closure through it, but look at the wick that we leave behind it, right? So at this point, this 1 minute inversion is still valid holding us up. The only reason why we had this wick was, again, because we had this equilibrium level that we needed to rebalance, right? Had this level here as well, rejection block that we came in, SMT, right? SMT rejection block. And then we get this inversion on the next candle, I believe, yeah. So you get the inversion. I don't enter just off of that yet. I wait for a pullback into this 1 minute gap. I didn't put a limit here. I just kind of waited for like a slight pullback into this inversion and like potentially into this gap. So I entered right there at 58275. So that was my fill. I wanted these equal highs, right? Those are equal highs at 937. Basically 1 to 1.5. I had my stop basically at this opening price, and basically this is exactly what happened. It came down, it respected the gap, came down again, respected the gap, literally wicked the opening price, wicked my stop, and then pretty much respected the gap again, respected the gap again, and then finally broke above this high here, this opening price. And then we actually took this high here. So notice how we failed to take this high on this candle here. And then we actually take this high, come back into the range, dig one more time to take this low into this 1 minute for value gap right here. Right, we dig into the for value gap again. And at that point, we do close through it. Right, but if you look on ES, at this point, ES is still running higher, right? So you could assume that these are just pullbacks that you could even just get more entries on. But unfortunately, I was already stopped out. I wasn't looking to like re-enter anything, even though the draw was pretty clear. I just wanted to take my L and call for the day. I'll come back tomorrow. But we pretty much just, we come back into this fair value gap, come back into this 1 minute inversion and this 1 minute inversion, and then edges it by literally a tick and then runs it. So after seeing that, I was like, ah, damn, it's a little unfortunate, but you know, that's what happens. You're gonna have days like this, and you know, you can't really let it get to you mentally. You just kind of have to accept the loss, know that you followed your rules, and just continue on with your day, and then come back the next day and then do the same shit. More than likely you're gonna win. Yeah, just an unfortunate day. It literally stopped me out by a tick. If I moved my stop like literally below CE of this, I would have been fine. It just wouldn't have been as good of an RR, but you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I followed my rules, and what happened, you know? So at this point, I was still watching to see how we want to respect these areas here, because we were still pretty bearish, and I still wanted to see the new week opening gap. So we trade up and we take this high here, and notice here on ES that we actually have this high, this opening price here as well at 930. Notice how ES trades up and creates equal highs with that new with that opening price at 930 right here. And then we actually leave the midnight opening price here. So at this point, obviously, we have low resistance here. We've been respecting all these key levels. We just hit the equal highs, right? We tapped into this 5 minute inefficiency, obviously inside this 15 minute inefficiency as well, and off this breaker here on the 15 minute as well. Scale back down, right? At this point, I'm just waiting for more structure, right? I'm not taking anything at this point. I'm just watching, just tape reading. So just watching, you know, seeing what price is doing, and you know, we get a nice mitigation here. Pretty much we're still just bullish at this point, right? We hit a key level here. I just want to see how we're going to keep going around this area, right? So we have equal highs. We haven't mitigated midnight open yet. We have this 1 minute gap here. Now, a lot of people would look to short this, but in this scenario, why wouldn't this be a good case to short? Well, notice in this scenario, right? We open here. We don't even leave a wick, right? We immediately dump lower, fill the entire inefficiency, right? It hasn't closed through it yet. It's still some level that can still be rejected and reacted off of. But in this specific scenario, this opens, goes all the way down, fills the whole inefficiency. And then keep in mind, ES2 comes and fills the entire thing and comes back into the inversion that it initially inversed. And now at this point, right, most people wait for it to close through, right? Massive wick, next candle opens and pretty much closes through it entirely, right? This candle that closes through, notice, right, creates equal lows, could enter here. If you do, obviously doesn't really work the best for you. In this scenario, since we had this wick, that kind of throws me off a bit, in a sense that even if this does inverses, which it did on the next candle, that doesn't give me pretty much it doesn't give me validation as to this trade working out. Basically, it doesn't make sense to me yet, because we didn't have any sort of prominent SMT, I guess. That's what I always look for. If you look here, we do have our 15-minute breaker, like I showed you. We do have our inefficiency here, right? We're in a premium of the range, right? I don't think we were actually. Hold on. No, we were. So we're in premium of the range, but we haven't mitigated midnight open yet. And again, seeing this wick at 1032, mitigating this whole thing, trading below the opening price of this 12 or 1025 candle, that just immediately kind of gives me the like, I don't know if I should take this, you know? If it was a stronger close, like if we closed down here like one time and ES did the same thing, then yeah, sure, I'd say that makes sense. But notice ES does the exact same thing. Comes down and then closes back inside the fair value gap. This next candle, literally comes back down to equilibrium of the range. At this point, yeah, I mean, this is where people would be in some profit, maybe move their stops to break even, but you gotta wait at this point. Midnight open is such a strong point, and like it usually always gets mitigated if ES hasn't done anything with it yet at this point. But ES was just kind of messing around, wasn't really following NQ entirely in the morning, and then it started to kind of follow in its path. It was a bit behind though, but pretty much that's what happens. If you look in the 5-minute, we trade below this low right here at 10:30, and we create equal lows on ES with that. So that shoots us back up. Goodness, bro, what the heck? So that shoots us back up to midnight open right there. So now that we're back at midnight open, let me remove this so it's not in your way. We trade back up to midnight open, take out the equal highs, and notice as well, we filled this entire, I know we didn't actually. Well, we were really close to, but I thought we did. So basically we filled this whole gap almost, like literally, well, by a tick almost, but we mitigated midnight open. And we also have an SMT at these highs here. So now I'm just waiting for more structure. What do I see? Okay, well, we have a 3-minute gap now. Okay, maybe if that gets inversed, that could be a good short. Okay, well, now we're just waiting. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's go to the 3-minute. Okay, nothing, right? 1 minute, just chopping, right? Create the high, low, high, low, high, low. Pretty much not doing anything. We're just chopping, right? Back to the 3-minute. Boom, we close through it, right? That's the closure. We close through it at about, yeah, we close through it about 3.5 points, right? So we get that closure. What else do we notice, right? Well, we have the SMT here with these highs, and we also have another SMT here. I usually like to see an SMT that's from leg to leg, not from like very small legs over like this. It works in some cases for valley gaps and stuff to find breakaways and all that, but I like to see a nice leg. So you see how we have this, it's equal highs, but I guess just kind of counted as one, right? We have the equal highs, we print a low, so we have a whole leg down. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 handles. We create a whole leg move down, and the next leg move up creates another SMT, right? So a small little SMT, you know, like just kind of like one here like that isn't really good enough for me, even though it does work, right? We do take this high, create equal highs, and ES does not take the high, and we sell off, but it's not the actual move, if that makes sense. So once we do get that SMT here at the highs, right, we barely filled this mitigation, literally by a tick. I don't get why we didn't, or 2 ticks, but okay. We get that 3-minute inversion, right? Why is this valid to take, right? This one right here. Why is this valid? Well, unfortunately I didn't take it, but the reason it's valid is because, as you can see, right, we have this fair value gap right here. So this is our key level. You can go to even a higher time frame one, honestly. Let's see. Yeah, so we have our 30-minute fair value gap that we tap into. That's our key level. You can even go down to a lower time frame. Right, you got a breaker here of some sort, right? It's not the cleanest, but you got a breaker, right? We're in a premium as well, and we're trading above midnight open, so we're in a time-based premium, right? So we have our, and this is the same thing for the long that I took for the equal highs, was the same idea, right? So we had our high time frame key level. We had our SMT. We're in a price-based premium, and we're in a time-based premium, right? And we have the breaker, of course, as well. So, and then for the long, right, we had the same exact scenario, right? We're in a discount of the range, right? We were trading below certain opening prices, so it's a time-based discount. So previous day equilibrium, time-based discount. So 2 time-based discounts actually at that point. Price-based discount, so it's 3. We had, we didn't have a high time frame SMT, but we had a low time frame SMT right here at this low right here. We had a low time frame SMT, and then, what am I missing? I think that was it. Yeah, pretty much the same confluences. And yeah, we got the 3-minute SMT at the highs, discount, pretty much everything that I needed to see. So it made sense for it to work. What do we target? Midnight opening, or sorry, the new day opening gap, right? Stops would go where? Well, if you go back to the 3-minute, here's the 3-minute gap, right? We respect the, where's midnight open? There we go. So midnight open was respected, right? This, basically the 3-minute gap should not get inversed. So you can put your stops above it like that. So 1 to 6, 3-minute closes, right? You know, let's just say, let's, you know, be realistic. Let's say you got filled right there. Boom. Still 1 to 5, right? Go back down to the 1-minute. And then you just hold it. Right, what happens? We get really close to the low. Right? This low at 11:03. What happens? We fail to take. It's really weird here, because it's really, really weird. Because this 10:04 low is not even necessary. It is a swing low, but it was taken here. So it was a very small time frame SMT here. So we take that, this low here, and then this low basically here at 9:54 that was not taken, that was failure swinged with, is this low here on ES. Or no, this one. Some random low inside this. So it's just a whole bunch of chop. It's not clear. Higher time frame draw, or the order flow, just like 15-minute, 1 hour, pretty much everywhere is telling us that we want to go to the new day opening gap. So any bullish SMTs that aren't even clear, that are kind of showing up like that, almost like 90% of the time are going to get ran through. Just notice how much cleaner the SMTs were that were bearish versus bullish, right? Sure, 4 hour daily we are bullish. You know, it kind of seems like we want to go to the highs, but lower time frame, order flow showing us bearish. You know, we want to respect that. We want to follow order flow and trade what the algorithm shows us, trade towards drawing liquidity. And pretty much that was it. I mean, I'm not really expecting any of the bullish SMTs to hold, like I said. So if we look here, I mean, it trades back up, right, into what? Well, we have this high, low, higher high, lower high. Well, refine it. What is this? Breaker block. Trade back up into the breaker, right? That's exactly, I mean, right. We trade below here, trade back up into there. This happens almost all the time. We'll fail to take a low, edge it, we'll get really close to it, trade back up into a PD array, scare people away, and then it'll trade right back to the drawn liquidity. That's exactly what happens. Right, look at this. Trade back up into the breaker, take the high inside of the breaker, back to the 5-minute. What do we notice here? Well, we have this high at 11. It's fair value gap that gets left open. What do? We also have this fair value gap here at 11:05. That's not a fair value gap on ES. We trade up. ES trades up into this 11 a.m. gap, leaving an SMT here. Right, boom. So we have an SMT. Oh my gosh, bro. What is this, bro? Come on. So we get an SMT with that 5-minute gap. So now what could you expect? Well, I mean, you could look to add again, right? What are we waiting for? Oh, fuck. We're good. So what are we waiting for? Some sort of like SMT. Literally, that's it. We have the breaker here. We know the drawn liquidity. We're waiting for more structure to play out. Well, look here. I played it too fast on accident, so my bad. 11:18, this high here on NQ is taken by the 11:22 a.m. high. Right here, same shit. 11:18 is not taken. So we have an SMT divergence there. Immediately trade below this low, creating an order block. Now I want to see how we can respect this order block, and if we can, I want to see if we can get a setup just down to this low, right? So what do? We trade. Now there's still nothing here. Sure, we get a nice expansive candle straight down, but notice too at, what is this, 11:32, ES already took these lows, right? But like I said, remember, bullish SMTs most likely going to get ran through if the draw is lower. So this SMT, every bullish SMT is just going to be another push up to rebalance to the same PD rate that was already rebalanced, especially on a choppy day. So what happens? We trade back to previous equilibrium, SMT at the low, trade back up into, trade back up to that high, edge the order block, trade back lower again to take this low at 1132. Trade back up into the order block again. Nothing to take pretty much. And, looking at price, what do we notice? Okay, we have the 1131 high that's taken. ES 1131 high is not taken. Okay, so at this point, I want to see if that SMT can hold now. Watching price. Okay, now we leave behind a 1 minute gap, right? ES also leaves behind a 1 minute gap. What can we expect from here as well? Well, let's hop down to the 30 second. All right, what do we notice on the 30 second? Well, ES has 2 gaps, NQ has 1, right? So ES, you'll notice, displaces through the first gap at 11:39 and 30 seconds, right? Which hasn't even happened yet. Hold on. So we're here right now at 11:38 and 30. So we're still inside this fair value gap, right? I'm waiting on the 1 minute to see what the next candle does. Okay, boom. Next candle opens and closes still inside this gap, right? What do I see on NQ? Or sorry, on ES? Same gap on ES, NQ, or same gap on ES, it already displaced through it. So at this point, I see that we haven't displaced through it on NQ. So now I'm going to hop down to the 30 second because I know it's the same exact low that the fair value gap low is at. So I just wait for this to get inversed, right? This next candle that opens inverses it too. So now, boom, once that 30 second closes, look at ES. ES matches it up with it perfectly. It closes through it as well. Now at this point, you could add again. Keep in mind, like I said, I didn't take this. I was just tape reading this as it went along. And yeah, I didn't take this. L day for me. Sorry guys. Stops can go above this fair value gap, right to this order block here, because I mean we shouldn't really mitigate that since ES is we already respected every PD array. It just makes sense now, right? It's not 1150 macro, but I mean, that's just like an extra confluence, right? So I just moved my stop. It was like a couple ticks above that. I would say move it a couple of ticks above that, just to be safe, Obviously, this is hindsight now, and I know it doesn't inverse that gap or even touch it. But if you were actually taking this, just thinking about it logically, where would you want to put your stop? Sure, you have this high getting taken. You have the SMT here, right? This should be protected. This gap got mitigated here, right? We got a nice close below this open here. Ideally, we shouldn't want to come up here, so you can just move your stop a little bit above, especially if we want to tap this opening price. And then, obviously, your take profit is down there at the gap, right there. And then you enter, and of course, right, price trades back up and trades down. So that was pretty much it. I could play out the rest of the price too as well, but it was a pretty sloppy day. I mean, after that new day opening gap was hit, we haven't really done anything since, unfortunately. Slow grind up, and right now we are just sitting here. So I just want to go in here, share the recap, be transparent with you guys, show the losses, show the wins. Unfortunate, like I said before, but we did take this trade live. Unfortunately, we didn't lose it, like I said, but I'm going to be going live a lot more frequently now, so make sure you guys go and join the Discord. Went live with about 7 or 8 people this morning, or it was like maybe 5, 6. I don't remember exactly. It was a decent amount, but we'll come back strong tomorrow. Make sure to preserve capital. So that's it. Go ahead and check out my socials, YouTube, all that. Join the Discord, like I said, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.